Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our new podcast presented by Arbonne by Lydia Santiago. We got the Energy Fizz here today, and we're going to be talking about some racing, but first we're going to do some taste testing. I have tried these already, and the Mango Peach is my favorite. Which one are you going to taste?
I'm gonna be safe and go for the same one, probably.
This one's good. I like this one.
I think it's that one.
I
Yeah.
haven't tried many of the other ones, but this one's working.
I just dump it in the bottle.
Yeah, this one's gonna, you need a little bit out of it when you start it. The mango peach flavor, it's, what is this stuff? Got some natural caffeine from a green tea and guarana.
If I can get it out of the dang packaging. Can't even get it out. There we go.
So, I started this podcast because there's a lot of podcasts out there, and they're mostly done by the crew, the fans, the wives of the drivers. But I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a driver's point of view. Joey's over here having some trouble. And I wanted to bring in some discussion of the more technical questions of like what's going on with the cars, the chassis, and how everything works together, the new technology that's brought into it, and a little bit of the controversial stuff that's going on with the racing. So let's start out with our nightly sponsor. See how Joey likes it.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's good. It's good. It's called Energy Fizz for a reason. There's a lot of fizz in it.
Yeah.
This one's good. I like this one. Try it out.
It's like drinking a beer.
That's good.
It's an acquired taste.
An acquired taste, yeah.
It's an
It's
acquired taste, but it's not bad.
It's healthy for you. And
Yeah.
it gives you some energy in the morning, and it's natural, so it's actually healthy for you.
It's an acquired taste.
It's
That's
an
about
acquired
all I'll
taste.
say. That's about all I'll say about it.
Alright, well, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joey Vaccaro. He's been one of my best friends for a long time, so I thought it was only fitting if he helped me start this out.
Yeah.
As a new adventure.
Yeah. It should be an adventure, to say the least.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. But so we met through the racing world, 10 years ago?
When I first started racing, I think the fall jamboree and probably 2014 we met. 2013, 2014.
Yeah, so about 10 years ago we met. So I want to start off with, how did you get involved with racing, and where did this come from?
Well, my family's raced since the early 80s, really. My grandfather raced, my great-grandfather raced, my great-aunt raced, great-uncles, everybody raced. But then towards late 90s, everybody got back out of it, and we built a family business out front here. And when my great-grandfather passed away in 2012, my great-aunt decided she wanted to get back into racing just because she knew that would be what would have made him happy. So then me and my dad got back into racing. I ran a slingshot and he ran a speedster for about 8 years, and then he got out of the speedster. We still had the slingshot, but then we bought a motor and got in your car for a year or so at Grandview, and then we ended up getting our own stuff. And we've had some up and down years, as racing goes, but I wouldn't want to be doing anything else, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously from knowing you for so long, there's some things that I know that I want you to share with the racing world. And one thing that I think is really cool because it's going on right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, your aunt, she won the Tulsa shootout.
At one, yes, back in the day, yeah, she won a micro race at the Tulsa shootout.
Yeah, back in the 270s.
Mary, my great aunt, was the only person who ran micros in the family. My grandfather ran modifieds and street stocks, road runners. My great grandfather ran road runners. My dad ran road runners. You know, so Mary was the only person who ever really came into the micro ranks, which that's actually one of her trophies up there. But yeah, I've always had the thought of getting into a micro maybe one day just to try it, but yeah, I'm more focused on what's going on here right now. So.
Yeah. So I hope one of these days that I would see maybe your dad back in one of your cars so you guys could race. You think that he has the itch?
I've always tried talking him into getting into one of these just for shits and giggles, really. But like, 'cause he still has his seat. You know, we have his seats in the back shed there, and you know he always has it just in case he decides he wants to get into something. So the option's always been open to get into one of these. It's just a lot of other things going on.
Yeah, that's something I've always thought was cool, and for me, I had the opportunity to give back to my crew guys. I really thought it would be, and I've seen it happen over the years of all the father-son duos, and for me, it's great racing with my grandfather and then racing as with my other grandfather. So I thought it would be always cool. Do you think that maybe your grandfather ever would get back into it?
Oh no.
His days passed.
Yeah, I've always joked around with him about it, but he thinks he's too old. I mean, put it that way. That's basically it. But he's very happy with where he's at. You know, he really enjoys helping me out and my dad with all this stuff. And you know, we still build our own bodies yet. You know, so he takes care of all the fabrication stuff when it comes to all that, and he's gotten really good at it. So you know, we've always tried to incorporate our own designs into our modified bodies just to give it a little more flair.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think he has an itch to get back in a car at all. He's content with where he's at.
Yeah,
they're out floating on a cruise right now, actually. So
that's when you get older. That's the way to do life. Just sit back, relax, enjoy, have some good food.
Well, and he's done plenty. You know, the family business up front's been around for 40 plus years, and we owned the mini mall for 40 plus years, and we sold that in the past couple years, but you know, business is still good, and you know, he's been a successful businessman along with Mary, so you know, I would enjoy it just as much as he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know that you guys, as a whole family, you guys are all working together. That's a cool thing to be able to say you can do, is work with not only your father but also your grandfather.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong, sometimes you know, you spend a lot of time with your family. Sometimes you know, stuff can get a little heated, but I wouldn't want anything else. You know, working with your family is, obviously it has its perks, but it also just gives you a lot more time to focus on what needs to be focused on, which is, to me, what's in here. So it's easy for me to, you know, work's up front. You know, I just walk from work up front right back here every day, you know, get some stuff done on the race cars. So I really enjoy working with family. You know, it's definitely has its perks.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I want to talk about when you started racing slingshots. How did that all start out for you?
Well, my first time I ever got in the car was at Grandview, and we just tested. You know, it was just me going around testing, and we had to get special permission from Tina to go out there because it's a really small car on a really big racetrack, and it's my first time in it. So we went out, we tested it, everything went well. We went to Schellheimer's. I'm not sure if it was the week after, like 2 weeks after, but it was on one of their Wingless Wednesday nights. And I had a car flip on top of me that night. And then I flipped that night going across the checker flag. I still finished second. I just about ended up in the Schuylkill River, but I still got second. So I'll always remember this. First thing I said when I got out of the car, and I was like 14 at the time. I was like, I got a lot of work to do. Well, right when I got out of the car, and the fact that I knew that, at that age, that just it gives me a good work ethic.
Oh yeah.
I always try to keep myself busy.
Yeah, just from knowing you and everything, when we always hang out and stuff, one of us are always busy doing other things, and it's hard to find time with everything. I mean, you got 2 cars going on, and you never know what's gonna come of that night and everything. So, how many years did you run the slingshot? I'm not even sure of this one.
I ran the slingshot for 7 years, 7 or 8 years. I ran the first 2 years that we had the modifieds, and then we got rid of it. So it would be 8 years. Because we ran the year that we ran Big Diamond, we were running Big Diamond Fridays and then running Shellheimers on Wednesdays in the slingshot. Which, in going from a bigger car to a smaller car, and you felt this, it is such an odd feeling. Because you get back into a smaller car and you feel like you could just be on top of the world. You could just run around everybody, but racing in every class is all the same. Whether you have that extra confidence or not, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, the less horsepower, the lower to the ground. It's just a very unique feeling of what's going to happen next. You're ready for it, and that's a big step. I know for me, stepping down from the modifieds to the sportsman rank this past year, everything happens so much quicker the faster you're going, and you just know how to react and handle things a lot quicker with the slower speed.
Yeah, that's a big power difference for the crates to the modifieds. In the slingshots, remember, we could take our arms and touch the ground, right next to our seats. So you're literally like a slot car sucked to the ground. But yeah, those cars also don't really have a suspension. These are much better when it comes to that.
Yeah. Now, for those of you that don't know, Joey's first year moving up to a sportsman, he ran our family car that was owned by me and my parents. I actually don't remember how that came about. Do you?
I think we were just looking to move up, and I don't know. We were all looking at that motor up in New York that we bought, the one that's sitting over there still. And I think we just decided, we all came about a deal right then and there or something. It came fast. It wasn't something that was talked about for a while, because that motor came up for sale, and I'm pretty sure we went up and bought it that week, because it was a really good deal. I mean, it's still running.
Yeah.
I had to use it the rest of the year last year because our new motor blew up, so.
Yeah. So out of all those races, that first year that you ran in our car, and I know at the end of the year you guys switched over to your car and went to Big Diamond. Do you have any moment that actually really stuck out that night? I know for me, watching and you learn and actually being able to walk up to the track with you and explain to you some things. For me, that was just as fun as racing the car.
Oh yeah. Well, and that when you we don't do that as much anymore. I understand a lot of that stuff now, but when I didn't, that helped out a lot. Going out, and a lot of people don't do this anymore, and I hate to see it. But to go out on the racetrack and look at your driving points, where you need to enter, where you're exiting, all that stuff means a lot. And you can learn a lot off of that. But it's a lot of people don't really seem to do any of that stuff anymore. A lot of the basic learning of racing. When we started, and I started even later than anybody in our group, but still when I started, since my family's an older style racing family, you learn all the basics. You learn how to drive with respect, stuff like that. But some people who come into racing anymore just don't seem to learn that side of it.
Yeah, the racing world has changed a lot from basically back in the day before us. They went to the junkyard, they built everything, and that's to me, I working closely with my grandparents. I always thought that was cool. I can hear their stories and stuff of back in the day of building the cars and how they did things, and the crazy things that they did.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they would do anything to try and find an edge. Now,
Mhm.
our cars are. We go up to Hoffman's, Barron's, McNell. We buy our parts. We don't.
There's no
manufacture
making anything anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy how the racing world has changed and technology is advancing. So everybody wants the best of the best,
Yeah.
but our cars are so close into competition where, I mean, you know, it doesn't matter what your name is, who you are out on that track. We're all side by side pushing as hard as we can every lap of the race.
Well, and especially with the new, like, well, I wouldn't say new, now crates have been around for a good bit, but this crate setup has been a very equalizing setup, especially for this class. With the open motors were great. I wish I could have gotten into sportsman racing when I was racing open motors, or well, when they were racing open motors. But with the crate setup, it's just cheaper. You know, it's equal. Well, for the most part, equal. You know, it just seems like the better route. I would love to go build a open sportsman motor and go run it,
Yeah,
but you can't really do that anymore. You
Yeah.
know, so that's just where racing's at anymore. You know, and like we still, you know, we try to build what we can, but there's only so much you can build anymore, and they expect stuff to still be the same quality. You know, because like Big Now, they build such good parts. You know, you don't really want to mess with what's good.
The amount of data they have and the resources they get to use. I mean, everybody is on their stuff, so they can call absolutely anybody on any track surface, and they get the data they need, and that's why I feel Bicknell's so far advanced in today and date.
No, Bicknell's superior right now. You're not going to find anybody better in these classes. I'm just waiting for the day some other chassis builder comes in and tries something, because I'm thinking it's going to be coming soon.
Honestly, I hope so. Not like we all run Big
I
Bells.
just want
we
somebody
love,
to try something, you know, something different, you know.
Yeah, well, that's what this world needs is competition, and because if we keep running the same stuff, I mean, Bicknell, they get to choose their prices on what they sell, and if we want it, that's what we spend, and we don't think twice about it, and if we don't have that competition to, maybe it drives the prices up, maybe it drives it down, but we always need competition to keep evolving and advancing with our technology.
Oh yeah. Competition will always be the number one part of our sport, you know, and that's why in the beginning of my modified career we went from Big Diamond to Grandview, because a lot of the heavier competition is at Grandview. And at that time, they were still running open sportsmen, so you were running crates against open sportsmen, which just makes it even harder.
Yeah.
But you would think you would want to go to the place that's easier. But for me, I would much rather race at the spot that's going to be a lot harder for me, because I'm going to learn a lot more. You know, even though a lot of weeks it seems like I can't help but get my shit tore up, but you know, it's just how it goes sometimes. You know.
Yeah. So actually, let's get into that a little bit. Obviously, I know your 2023 season was a lot of up and down and a lot of downs.
There was a lot of down in the beginning, and it started to slowly go up at the end.
Yeah, so we can skip over those downs. How'd you feel when the year started turning back around?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, the second half of the year the last 10 races we ran, we were top 10 in 8 of them. You know, I think the streak was I had 7 top 10s in a row towards the end of the year, which was great. You know, to be at Grandview, to run that good in a car that we weren't there all year in, completely different car to us. You know, we switched to the coil setup, which was completely different for us, and we ran great. You know, do I wish we wouldn't have junked the car in the beginning of the year? Would have saved us a couple bucks, probably, but it is what it is. Last year, until like halfway through the year, nothing seemed to be going good for us, and then, you know, stuff started looking really well. So we're building up for this year and hoping for something better.
Yeah, that's all we can hope for. Now, for me, every year, like going into a new year, I always want to start fresh and tear down my cars. I see your cars are down to bare frame.
Yep.
Going into the next year, is there anything that you look to update? I mean, I know a lot of guys are getting new frames, but you're in the same boat as me where we struggle to get the sponsorship to help us move to the next division. For myself, I'll tell you, just buying a new a car last year, I've updated a lot, such as the front end. I had the old 6-10 front end and stuff like that.
Yeah, you had the old front end in that thing.
I got the good stuff now. I got it cheap and used, of course. Is there anything that you actually update from year to year?
I mean, realistically, you just go over the car and whatever you think needs an update or something that has a crack in it, you update it. We got this frame early in the year last year because we bent that one pretty bad for $800 off of Hoffman's. In 2018, it has all the options you wanted it except that it had a Gen 3 floor in it, which we switched that this off season. But I mean, really, it's just going over all your parts, making sure there's no cracks in them, cleaning them up, and everything still works the way it needs to. You can use it again. If you have the money to get a new one, go get a new one. But we had to get a new motor this year because the one that we got last year blew up on us for whatever reason, and we ran the motor that we had in your car the rest of the year last year. That's got like
reliable.
That's got like 50 plus races on it now, so that definitely won't make it the rest of the year next year. So we had to put another one down on pre-order, so we're waiting to hear about that. But that's really the only thing. I mean, I'm sure we'll end up getting a couple other things, but that's the big thing, really, the engine.
Yeah. Now, so you have one win up at Big Diamond.
Yeah.
How'd that feel getting your first win?
Oh, that winning's the best feeling ever. And I've always your first win always kind of just flies by,
I know what you mean.
Like I didn't even win a race in the slingshot. Slingshot racing to me was my learning experience. I find a lot of competition in these cars, and I try to take it as seriously as I can. Since we've made the switch to Grandview, we've had a lot worse luck, I would say, but that's just racing Grandview. Racing Grandview, you need to have the luck on your side. You need to have a good car that night. It is just, that place is tough. It is tough to win there in either class. So it's just how racing goes.
Yeah, going to a little bit boring like that. I mean, for me, I went up to Burden and Weedsport up there, and I know that's a lot different being on Hoosiers compared to American Racers.
Yeah.
So for me, I really struggled when I went up there. But the track, they're very configured, a lot different than Grandview and stuff like that.
Yes.
But you still, it's tight boring. You gotta Grandview. You get underneath somebody, you gotta muscle your way in, and you don't want to run like that. But
no, you have to.
It's Grandview.
You have to. And they're probably gonna pinch you down in the infield wall.
Yep.
But you gotta expect it. You gotta go up. So.
And we know that going to the track. It's not like we're going to a racetrack and we get stuffed down in the U tire and we go, oh shit, why did that happen? No,
it's
Grandview.
Yeah, you know exactly what happened.
Yeah, you got to fight for every inch you got, and I know there's been many of times where I've gotten in a scuffle with multiple people.
Yeah.
Luckily, I don't think we've really. I mean, we've been in wrecks together, but I don't think we got in scuffles together.
That'll never be a problem. Definitely been some scuffles at Grandview.
Yeah. So going into the 2024 seasons, do you have any plans to travel or anything like that?
I mean, as of right now, we haven't really talked about traveling. I mean, obviously, we're going to Grandview. That's the plan weekly. But we're going to hit Port Royal at the beginning of the year. We were planning on hitting that race at the end of the year last year. Unfortunately, it rained out. So we're going to hit that race, and I'm sure we'll hit a couple others. I want to get to that 3,000 to win race up at Big Diamond. I saw they announced that. I don't know how the guys will feel about it, but I would like to go. I want to get to New Egypt at least once. New Egypt seems like a pretty fun place to race, and they've seemed to up their game a lot when it comes to track prep and stuff like that. So I'd like to get there too, but yeah, I'd like to get realistically
Everywhere.
everywhere. But you know, our truck kind of limits that, so we don't exactly have the biggest truck to be able to go everywhere. You know, Grandview, like when we were making them trips to Big Diamond, you know, we blew a transmission out going to Schellheimer's the one week. Just going to Schellheimer's,
Yeah.
you know, it's just having all them big hills going up to Minersville. That's just, we have a 2500 Chevy with a 6.0 in it. You know, it don't have the power of a diesel. You know, so I'm sure we'll travel a little bit, but we'll see. We always take that stuff up in arms. Last year we tried planning things and everything went south. So
That's I always try to plan all my races at the beginning of the year, and 2-3 years ago I felt like I was hitting 90% of my races. These last couple of years it's been a struggle, and I feel like day and age, like everything's so expensive, and now me paying for all my stuff, it's like it's harder. Now I gotta sit down, I gotta actually budget everything. I have to go through the tires, and do I have enough tires going to this track? And you being with your family and stuff like that, you understand money gets you so far, and that's where, for me, I'm always thankful for all my sponsors, and I try to do my best to say thank you to them anytime that I'm in front of a camera and on Facebook, just talking to them in person. And our sponsors are the big ones.
Sponsors are a big thing in this sport, you know, and any form of motorsports in general. You know, it costs a lot of money to do this stuff, a lot more than what it costs for most sports.
Yeah.
So you know, sponsors go a long way, and you know, we go out every year trying to find more, and luckily I'm pretty sure we have about every sponsor we had last year hopping back on, which is great. But you know, it seems like as the years go, it gets a little even harder because people don't want to spend money because everything costs so much anymore. And like, even in the aspect of like missing races, the weather has been horrible the past couple years, and it just seems to be getting worse. Like today it was 50 degrees and we're just about into the new year. Like
I walked outside and I said, wow.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous. It's gonna be snowing in the beginning of March. Like, that's the way I look at it. I hope it's not, because that's when Port Royal is. But it's gonna be snowing.
You know, I like the Port Royal race at the end of the year, but for some reason, just a big race to kick off.
I love it.
I'm so hyped about it.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's great. I mean, Grandview, it's not a race for us, but Grandview starts off right away with is it the Forrest Rogers, the Bruce Rogers, the Moneymaker.
Yeah,
and that's a big race for modified guys around here, and I always love going to that show right at the beginning of the year, and that's what a lot of these tracks should do: have a big race right at the beginning of the year. Yeah. But I mean, obviously that's a day of show up at Port Royal, so that's a series race. But like I have a feeling if they get the right weather, you know, that place will get a pretty good packed house, you know.
Now, do you think with all these races that are coming around, I mean, we got Short Track Super Series, we got Super Dirt Car Series, and then we got all our weekly races. Are you one of them people that, like, you would like a break? I know there's been a lot of talks recently about tracks. We need to take a break. Maybe one race every 2-3 months and take 1 week off. Are you one of those people that you would want that, or is that something you wouldn't like?
I think it would really depend on how the year's going. You know, like last year, I mean, I had a month off regardless because we were in the middle of tearing that car apart and putting it all back together. You know, so, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I had to go. I went to Grandview every week to watch. And I hated it.
That's right, I do remember you helping out on the car.
Yeah, I despised it. You had an extra crew member for a month. You probably thought
my tires were ground every week.
Every week. You were probably like, man, I lost a tenth. But yeah, like that's really just how it goes.
Yeah, it's racing. That's the way I feel. If I could run all year round, I would. I don't ever want to stop racing. There's nothing more important to me than showing up at the track. And it's not even just the racing. I mean, we've talked about it a million times. The friends and family you make at the racetrack. I don't even care if I'm just at the track 3-4 hours before the event,
Yeah.
I show up early. I know you show up early.
Oh, yeah, we're
just
one of the first people
yeah,
there. Every
just
week.
showing up, talking to people. Like, I just love socializing and what the racing community is. It's crazy how family like everybody is, and
Mhm.
everybody's before the race and everything. Everybody's friendly, and there's nobody that wouldn't help you at the track. Now, once the race night goes on,
Yeah.
a little different story.
Yeah, it turns a little different.
So, who are the people that back you in your sponsorship? If there's anyone you want to thank, did you get any new ones this year?
Not yet. Mainly, I gotta thank my family. It's been, I've been racing now for 9 years. This is my 9th year racing, and every year, between the car lot or my dad, anybody, that's the main reason I've been able to race. We run off of a strict budget off of the car lot, plus whatever sponsor money we get, and that's what we got. My grandfather will, he won't put any more money in, he won't take money out, he knows how to run his business. So I always thank him for that, and Napa, Max Butcher Shop, Bungalow Cigars, all them guys, they sponsors mean a lot. It truly means a lot in this sport. So
Yeah, absolutely.
thanks never goes far enough, really.
Yeah, there's no way to say thank you enough for you helping us live our dream.
Yeah, literally.
What can we do to actually thank you
like-
that much that it actually means so much for us? I feel exactly the same way.
Like we try to go out and we go to our sponsors and ask them if they want the panel that they had their sponsor on, or like there were years we had plaques made for each sponsor. We always try to do something like that at least.
Yeah, I feel like sponsors appreciate that, just to
Oh yeah.
a little bit of a give back. I mean, it may not be much, but they
No, they
aren't just sponsors. They actually love the sport too, and that's what makes it great. Like, we go out, we talk with them and talk about the racing, and it's not just, hey, thank you for supporting our team. It's, you are a part of our team, and you mean that much to us.
Yep.
Speaking of the people that mean that much, I mean, who are your crew members, and do they have specific roles on the team, or is it?
No, I wouldn't say anybody has a specific role. It's really just get into whatever you want to get into. If there's something to do, get into it. Herbie's been around since we started. 8 years ago, 9 years ago. I mean, Herbie's been around since the '80s when they were racing. But
Jeez, I didn't know that.
oh yeah, Herbie worked with Kenny Hatt and Ben Hatt while they were racing, and we were good friends with them. So that's how we got to meet Herbie. But then Herbie got out of it when the Hats got out of it and decided to help us. But Herbie, Phil, he's always in that. Charlie's more of a, I don't know how to describe Charlie. Charlie is pretty good with engines. Like when we got to do valve springs and stuff, he handles a lot of that stuff. But he's also an extremely good fabricator. Like he did auto body basically his whole life. And he knows his way around fabrication, like, very well. So I always try to listen to what he has to say. But, everybody gets my thanks when I leave every day. I leave every night after the shop. Everybody gets a fist bump. Thank you for coming. We have shop nights every Tuesday and Thursday. Mostly everybody shows up every time. We're trying to get one of our co-workers up front that used to help us, Johnny. We're trying to get him back and helping. Trying to get him out of his situationship, but the help always goes a hell of a long way. Help. That's one thing that we've been very fortunate with compared to a lot of other people. I know you guys have had a lot of issues with help, but luckily you guys are very knowledgeable with what you do. But we've always been very fortunate with help. So
Yeah,
we've never really had that issue.
a lot of people don't understand it. You may not need to know a lot. It's just a helping hand,
It's
somebody to hold a wrench or anything.
It means a hell of a lot.
For me, I have a new crew member, Mike. You know him.
Yep.
he didn't know very much when he started, but
No, but he'll get his hands into
oh yeah,
anything.
he'll absolutely put in his hands in anything, and he will work and work and work, and he doesn't care what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm if you have that drive, we are willing to teach you.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
that's something you have that I have. Like I want it to be family oriented, where everybody will help everybody.
Oh yeah, and like we all try to help everybody out. You know, Bill does his own racing. He races hill climb stuff, and he builds his own cars from the ground up. He does like all like Berkeley's and stuff like that, all old cars and motorcycles. But he offered me to go take one of his cars up to the Poconos the beginning of next year for a test run. I was like, man, I don't know if you want to do that. It's like, oh no, I want to do that. But you know, we all help each other out. You know, more than I could ever imagine. You know, the racing family in general is just a helping family. You know, if you need help, there's gonna be somebody there to help. You know, it's a lot of the time you don't have a problem finding help. You always have your people there.
Yeah, that's one thing I know you and I both are grateful for, the people. And we are very lucky, and I know that I don't always show it, but I know I am so thankful for my father and
Oh,
you
yeah.
you with your father, or they have that spark of racing. Like you've been doing it for so long, you know what to do. I can always rely on you
Yeah.
and ask you any of the questions. And then also, we both have grandparents that know what they're doing. We have that racing family bloodline.
Well, and and a lot of people don't. You know, like a lot of people don't have the generations into this race in the racing like we do. You know, Kyle got it, Loudon's got it. You know, a lot of our friends have it. You know, but you know, you run into some people every now and then that literally have no background in racing, and you're all.
And it's a struggle for them.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta believe it.
I believe it 100%. You know, you don't have. I'm sure you have knowledge in it. Like you can go around and ask anybody you want. You know, people will give you knowledge about it, but it makes it so much better when you have family that's been in the sport. You know, they just know.
It's
you know?
I know for me, like when I started racing, I didn't like in the modified division. I didn't know, or sportsman division. I didn't know anything to work on a car.
Yeah.
And just having my dad there, he's worked on forever to help put the car together, and he taught me. If I didn't have nobody to teach me, how am I going to put a car together from a bare frame? And I know you just start taking parts apart and put them together. That's how you learn.
That's pretty much it.
But
that's pretty much it.
It is probably, I'm going to imagine, very hard. I mean,
oh yeah.
the first time I took apart a hub,
Yeah.
I mean, now it's a simple thing.
Felt like a rocket scientist.
Yeah. You're over there just taking things apart, and you're like, "What am I doing?
Yeah. Where did this go?"
Yeah, well, these little bolts hold that together.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely crazy, and it's something we are very fortunate to have.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We're about at the halfway point, so I just want to say, if you're feeling a lack of energy, try the new Energy Fizz Airbond. They have a bunch of different flavors of the green tea with natural caffeine. My favorite's the peach mango again. Contact Lydia Santiago for yours today. So I want to shift a little bit into more of the way the car's handle and the technology today. It's a lot different than what it was years ago, as we talked about. So since we are racers, that's one thing we are able to help explain a lot of the cars, and a lot of the people don't understand what's just a basic 602 engine. Can you give them some feedback on this?
On a basic 602,
What we race, 602s.
basically it's a 350 Chevy with a sealed end. It's all sealed, you can't touch it, and everybody basically runs pretty much the same setup on coils, you know, left side pan bar, short rods, you know, all the good stuff. So
some of you that don't know, our left rear radius rod, it has a standard length, and then when you shorten it, it starts pulling the left rear head, and that's what we start considering as a short rod. Now with these coil cars, you want to pull that left rear head a lot farther, and then we have underneath the tube on the left rear, there's a bar, a piece of the frame that gets dropped lower nowadays than they used to get the left rear pushed in the ground a lot harder. And the new technology, it's where we started. Like, I started on bars. Before that, they were coils. Now we're back. It's a full circle. I mean, I never got to run the coils before. But
no, it all comes full circle. It's come full circle the past couple decades, probably.
Absolutely.
But now with all the like spring smashers and shock dynos and all this stuff, you know, the coil stuff has really come to be like the hot thing, you know. It really comes down to, you know, when you look at our cars and how they're driving right now, what do they mainly drive like? A late model. You know, they're trying to drive that left rear head as far as they can get all the drive they can get, and that's how they drive. But, you know, a lot of the modified world has been running into some issues with drive lines and stuff like that because we don't run the same drive line as a late model does. Mm-hmm. It's longer, you know, so we're running into drive line issues. So I'm interested to see how far we can really go with this stuff without having to change the drive line.
Well, that's what's going to be my next question. And do you think that's something we need to start looking into?
If we want to keep going the way we are with how the rear ends are set up, we should probably start looking into our drive lines. You know, we run crates, you know, so we don't have to run the big journal stuff. You know, we don't need it. I mean, I didn't have a driveline issue all year last year because I run the really old drive shaft stuff. But it all comes down to when you're running a big block and you got that thing twisting as far as it can go, you got 950 horsepower going through it, it's gonna twist, no matter what. Like, it's gonna twist. So whether we can figure something out that, you know, the drive lines aren't coming apart or, you know, something like that. I know Matt Williamson, he put a post up on Facebook not that long ago about how he never had issues with it. Never had issues at all. So, you know, it could be just a people problem. You know, people just aren't doing something right.
Yeah, I know I blew apart many drive lines, and I thought I was ordering what was right, but like I said before, he has all that data that tells him what is right to his disposal, and we don't. And like, we try to do the best we can.
Well, in the situation you guys had with Decker's car last year, the drive shaft was too long.
Yeah.
You guys actually had to cut it so that it was the right length, and lo and behold, you didn't have issues the rest of the year. I remember watching your dad cut that thing. That was scary.
Actually, I don't even think we ever used that one. I think we just got a small one.
That was probably the better idea.
Well,
that was on an angle.
Yeah. That was late night shop activity. That shouldn't have happened.
No, that shouldn't have happened.
But they're cheap.
Yeah, they're cheap. Yeah, cutting a drive shaft with an angle grinder.
Yeah. But no, I just am wondering, like, technology is not slowing down for anybody.
No.
And I keep calling it technology because it's something that keeps advancing, and like, if we want to be fast, we got to keep up on it, and that's the way technology works. And I just, there's certain things on the car that I feel like we need to learn a little bit more, and that's where I heard the last 2 years we need engineers to make the cars faster and better. And I honestly feel like if you have an engineer on your team, obviously you got to be a real big buck team to be able to do that.
Well, there's a couple teams out there.
And then there's other teams that I feel like probably do that they're struggling too. Yeah. So do we really need an engineer out there, or is it that we just need to work on our program a little bit better with what we have?
It's just, I think it all, I mean, in reality, I think it all just comes down to who finds what when. You know, like, who finds the next hot thing when, you know? And if you find something new that isn't in the rule book, you can run it.
Yeah.
Fair game.
Yeah.
So you can just throw it on your car, and if it makes your car faster, it makes your car faster. They can't do anything about it unless they change the rule book.
Yeah.
So a lot of these
everybody
guys
searches for that gray area.
Yeah. So a lot of these guys like Sheppy and Williamson, Stewie, you know, they have these engineers on their teams, which is great. I'd have an engineer on my team if I had the money too. But when like these engineers are finding these next level things, I would think, and that's what's making these cars a lot faster, you know.
Yeah.
And these things all down the line come out to us at some point when, you know, Big Mel gets them and they make them, and you know, like that's why, you know, and I could be wrong, but you know, Shepard's been a hell of a fast car the past
unbelievable
year.
Past 2 seasons.
Yep. Williamson absolutely destroyed everybody up at Dirt Week, like
crazy,
you know, and so these guys just found something.
And
you know? It could be something in the springs too. There's so much going on with this spring smashing stuff. It gives me a headache.
and I keep calling them engineers, but I'm not even saying they are engineers. They are just smart people. And like Shepard, he I know he does have an engineering degree, so he is that smart, and it might be him. And we don't know what's going on in their shop, but the knowledge that's coming from somewhere. And I know, like, I've talked to Matt Williamson, I've talked to Matt Shepard before. They are smart people. And it's just the crazy amount of knowledge, and they've been doing it for a long time. Me and you, I have. This is going to be my 18th year.
Yeah, you have a couple on me.
yeah, which is crazy being only 23. But all those years coming up to like where they started. Do you believe that maybe they were in our shoes questioning one day, like, what the hell are we doing?
At one point, a lot of them guys were. You know, a lot of them guys were in our shoes. You know, there's a lot of guys like NASCAR that were in our shoes at one point. You know, it all comes down to who you know, who's the smartest. You know, there's a lot of moving parts in these cars. You know, there's just so much that could go wrong. There's so much that could go right. So there's just a lot to mess with. I always try to think about it, but like the stuff that they're thinking about isn't even something that could we could comprehend in our brains. Like they're working on stuff that's like ridiculous. It isn't even going on our cars.
And that's why they are dominating.
Exactly.
I mean, Shepard put a clinic on at Utica Rome this year. Yeah. I'm gonna be honest.
Nobody was beating him.
No, he was just that good. And it's
and when you're running a track like that weekly, you know, he probably had that thing dialed in, so like nobody was ever gonna beat him there. You know, he's just, them guys are just fast wherever they go. I'm interested to see how they do down in Florida, because I saw Williamson's going down to Florida again, so that should be interesting.
I'm always a race fan first.
Yeah.
I love watching them shows. I've been down to Florida when they were at Bubble. Like, that was absolutely awesome. And so maybe it's the race fan in me just thinking like how I do think, but I just believe the way technology is going is just really a new direction for the sport. Like we have not had this type of racing. Like before, you would be side by side and you'd battle for 10 laps trying to pass somebody. Now if you're fast, you blow by them.
Oh yeah, you blow, yeah.
And it's just like, and it's that much.
Yeah.
Like I know it's crazy how much an eighth of an inch means on some things. Yeah. And it's just the knowledge these guys have that eighth of an inch, they understand what that means, and I'm still searching for that eighth of an inch.
We're always.
Yeah.
And these guys are even searching. You know, they're still searching how to get faster.
They're not fast in there.
They're still searching how to get faster. You know, as a race car driver, you're always looking at how to get faster. You know, these guys just have the better resources. And that's what it comes down to a lot in racing, your resources. You know, if you don't have the resources, you can only do so much. You know, like we don't have spring smashers or, you know, shock dynos in our shop. I mean, obviously Ray has one, but you know, we don't just have that stuff at our disposal.
Yeah, that's
and that means a hell of a lot. Like even just having a spring smasher, you know, that gets you a hell of in the right direction. But you know, that stuff costs a hell of a lot of money. That takes money out of putting it into your race car. You know,
that's one thing I really had to choose. Like with funding most of the car myself this year, I had to pick and choose where my money went.
Exactly.
And last year, I know you were bitching at me all the time about, hey, you need to put a new tire on your right front.
Yeah.
But I had to pick and choose, like, hey, I'm not going to put a tire on this corner because I need to put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's this year, like, I've updated a lot, but there's a lot of things that I know you would look at me going, what the hell are you doing?
You know, it's when you're running on a budget, you know, you got to do what you got to do. We've been doing it. You've been doing it.
Yeah.
Your dad's been doing it with Decker. You know, that's how a lot of us run anymore, you know, on a budget.
And I feel like there were, back 5 years ago, there were the high dollar teams, the middle teams, and then the low buck teams. But I feel like that middle is kind of splitting.
That middle isn't even there anymore.
Yeah, you're a high dollar team or you're a low dollar team now, and and the low dollar is not even like it used to be. Like we're not talking about. There are the guys with the open trailers and stuff coming in like that.
Yeah.
But now it's guys that they kind of have nice equipment and everything, because there is no bad equipment now. Now everybody has nice
Unless
cars.
You're going out and buying something that's like way too old.
Yeah, and then you can't compete. That's the problem. Like the center of the section is just gone. Like there's no middle guy. Like there are. I'm not gonna say there aren't, but those are the guys that are good one week and the next week they struggle, and it's a very crazy race season every year now.
Yeah, no, that's been changing the past couple years. There isn't even a middle class in general anymore, like in the world. You know, it's just the way things are anymore. You're either spending the big bucks or you're saving your money so you don't spend that lot of money. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. Now, did you hear about the new rule packages going into the 2024 season at Grandview?
I heard about some of it, yeah.
All right. So the new rule is we'll start with the window. We're going to window panels for the 602 crates, and we're only talking about crates.
Great, fantastic.
So you're a fan of that?
Oh, I love it. Great. I mean, the fans might have a problem telling, which that was always a problem before when they both ran the same panels. But to me, the racing is going to be better. You're not going to be as locked down. You're not going to be catching as much air.
And that's I want you to just explain a little bit into what actually that does to the race car.
When you have the sail panels on, you know, and you know this, it's basically just a big billboard on the side of your car. You know, it adds, probably another 7-8 inches on the top of your car. It's a giant billboard. So when you're going into the corner and the right side's kicking out and the left side's kicking out, you're catching all that air on that right rear quarter panel and on the inside of the left rear, which just makes it locked down. It makes it so that it won't rotate as much as you might want it to. Or, you know, maybe like if the track's too loose that night, you want your sail panels on and it keeps you locked down to the track. You know, there are times where I've liked the sail panels. You know, it feels like it keeps you locked down. But every time we ran the crate races at Grandview and they had just the crate races and you could choose, like the guys who ran windows always seemed to be the better.
Those couple of races I ran back for Steve Bauman, the two I ran.
You had windows on every.
I put the windows on just because of how much so basically the window panels, they help free the car up, and the sail panels are tight. Now the guys, so my brother, he didn't normally put them on because he ran it weekly. I was running the modified division and he ran it weekly with those sail panels, so he already had the car freed up enough with them. Now we're going to the window panels. Do you think we're gonna need to tighten our cars up a lot, or?
I don't think it'll be as much as. I've never noticed too much of a difference between the panels. You notice a little bit of a difference, but whenever I went from, because Grandview is the only place that runs or ran sale panels anymore. When you went from like Grandview to a Deo show or Big Diamond in general, you didn't really feel the difference. You know, you felt a little bit. You felt a little less air holding you back when you're going into the corner. That's really about it. I mean, your car's gonna rotate better, for sure, but it feels like a race car at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the next rule is we're going from for the 602s only, so that comes with that is our weight package. We're going from 2300 for the 602s on aluminum wheels to 2350.
Oh, they added weight to us.
So now we're all even across the board, except I assume steel wheels are probably going to be lighter.
Yeah, but I mean, who's running steels anymore? You know.
Well,
I've got some if you want to buy them.
Yeah, I got some.
You can buy them. If you want to buy them, I got them.
Do you think this is a good change?
Yeah, it depends. A lot of the time when it comes to weight anymore on these cars, people just take weight out of their car so that they can put the weight back into it where they want it.
Yeah.
You know, it's more of it's not a like lightening the car up type of thing. And in this instance, they're making them heavier. These guys are gonna put this weight, you know, as probably on the left rear, you know, right on the tranny cover, so it's level with the crank. You know, that's where this weight's gonna end up probably
Yeah.
mainly in the rear, because a lot of that rear percentage and left side weight is pretty important with these cars anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely so basically the rear percentage is the difference from the front end to the rear end, and in a percent, and the left rear is from left to right. So you typically run your left side around 54.2%, and your rear around 64 to 65, whatever you want. And so a lot of the cars, they can't get that rear percent. So what we got to do is we got to add ballast weight, and you get a chunk of lead and you bolt it somewhere on the rear of the car, and then it adds weight to the rear and takes weight off the front. You get a higher percent. So that's how that works.
Like, I think we had to have had 75, 80 pounds on the weight bar last year.
Jesus.
Yeah, like
I have no weight in the car.
Like, I am skinny. You know, I don't weigh anything at all. So we've always had to add weight to our cars. But yeah, we had to have had close to 100 pounds on the weight bar last year.
Then you're gonna have a lot of weight on this.
Yeah. I thought they were taking weight out. I was like, oh man, all right, well that's a little better, I guess. But
see,
where am I gonna put that?
For the guys that don't have racks in the car, or they
luckily I do.
Yeah, they already were down. Like my brother, he was overweight because he didn't have a rack in the car.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason anyway. But so he was 70, 80 pounds overweight. Now he's only going to be 20 pounds overweight without any ballast weight on the car.
That's how it should. That's how they should have it. You know, I'm not complaining. That's how they should have the weight. It should be a little higher for the guys that are heavier.
So the nice thing for me anyway, and a lot of the guys, is when we wanted to go travel, I had to throw 50 pounds of weight on the car.
Yeah,
that I
so
didn't
now
have.
it's the same.
Yeah, now it's the same.
Now we don't have
Short
to
Track
worry
Super
about it.
Series, Diamond, they all are 2350, and I think this is a really good change.
No, that's a good change.
I always think it's good if the tracks come together as one.
Yeah, I wish they would do it more.
Yeah. So, then the big topic. Actually, we'll wait 1 second, and let's go back. So, now with Grandview going to 602s only, what do you think this is going to change in the racing? Think it's going to change anything?
I think it's definitely going to be more equal throughout the back of the pack, because everybody's going to be on the same engine now. So it's going to level out from them open motors, because the open motors had a good 150 horsepower on the crate motors. I think when it comes to heat races, the heat races are going to be 10 times better. I don't know.
Better or harder?
harder,
Harder.
but they're going to be better.
Okay.
But
Competition's going to be harder to get to the front.
Yeah. But features, I don't know if it's going to change that much. You know, at the end of the day, the crate motors won most of the features last year because when the track gets slick enough, you know, we run after the modifieds, so the track's slicking up at that point. A lot of the crate guys are better because they can keep their wheel speed down.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there were a lot of open motors that were good last year, but the crate guys are just seemed to be superior when it came to that last year. On a slick track, the crate motor will always be better.
Do you think the guys...
Unless you have a heavy foot.
Do you think the guys that are up front in the championships with the handicap, which the handicap just allows the guys who finish normally, it's what, top 5, I think, in the heat races, they go to the feature and then they get set up by points. The low man out of those cars starts on the pole in the feature, and then the high guy starts 14th, I think, in the crates. Do you think those guys that are up front in points, is it going to make them struggle more to get to the front? And do you think that the points battle this year is going to be tighter?
It's going to be tighter. For sure.
That's what I'm thinking.
For sure it's going to be tighter. There's no doubt. Like, you're not going to see that 150 point gap. You know, that's not going to happen. It's going to come down to the last couple races of the year. You know, people are going to be fighting for it because it's Grandview, when it comes to heat races, have always been tough.
Mm-hmm.
But you always have the people that will drive through you to get to the front. It's going to happen no matter what. So now that these people don't have that extra horsepower to just drive under you and door you out of the way, well, it'll be interesting to see how some of these people race.
So that leads me to another question now. So not having enough horsepower to be able to drive under you like that, but we're going to be pack racing more, and everybody's going to be tighter. Do you think the less horsepower is going to create less incidents, or the more pack racing is going to create more?
You know, at the end of the day, Grandview's Grandview. So, you know, there's going to be wrecks, but...
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's not. It's just...
Yeah. It's
these two things, we are helping an issue and
it's
hurting an issue.
No,
it's not an issue, but it's racing. We know it.
The pack racing is going to be a lot better, in my opinion. But man, like, racing in a pack always gets hairy.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of the time you're only 2 wide. You know, you're not getting to that 3-4 wide type of stuff, especially at Grandview. But I think with the crate motors coming in, like, a lot of the time when I ran the crate races, I could run the very top, keep my momentum up, kind of like you would run like a slingshot at Lanco. You keep all your momentum up, and you just fly by people around the top because you have that motor as wound up as it'll get.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to open it up for more lane racing and a lot more pack racing. I just hope it doesn't lead to more carnage.
Yeah.
But, like I said, Grandview's Grandview.
Yeah.
It's always
and that's I hope that racing, like, side by side, week after week, is going to create some respect, and everybody's going to learn a little bit. Like, hey, let's give and take. The other thing is, I don't think a lot of people don't understand, like, the 602 crates, because now here's another issue. If we don't have the power during a night to run around the top, are we going to rubber up around the bottom because we're going to train race?
Probably.
And that's, so a lot of people don't understand the momentum game in these crates. Like, some people are like, oh, how's this guy running the top? And blah, blah, blah. Like, the momentum of these cars, I know it rubbered up the night I won in the crates this year. It was rubber up on the bottom. I didn't go through the rubber. I did towards the end of the race because it was locking down too hard.
You were running the car like a slot car.
Yeah.
You were keeping it as straight as you could get it, keeping the tires under it, and you were fast.
Yeah.
And that's all the momentum game that you're talking about.
And that's a big thing with these cars. Like, you can move around, and it's not that we have the power, it's just the momentum that brings it around. We can run anywhere on the track. In Port Royal, we were five different lanes.
Yeah.
I ran the bottom, the middle, the top.
You could run E wide around that place. It'll be great.
Yeah, I love Port Royal.
Yeah,
but that was awesome.
That's favorite racetrack around here for sure.
All right, let's get to the big topic for the 2025 season. I believe Grandview and Big Diamond are not allowing the left side panhard anymore. What is your opinion in this? Is this is this a good thing or bad thing for racing? And then is this something you like or dislike? Because they can do two different things.
I wouldn't say I like or dislike it, but I don't think it's good for racing. It's just, when you do something like that, you're just going back in time. Like I got two right side pan bars sitting back there. I could throw them on. Do I want to? No, because we've been spending all this money learning all this stuff about the left side pan bar and the coils and the short rods, and we're fast. Everybody's fast that runs this stuff, but not everybody. The tracks are trying to claim it comes down to the drive lines, which I completely understand. It gets dangerous. Them parts are spinning really fast. But it also comes down to the people who are putting these cars together, because we didn't have an issue all year last year. If you have all your angles right, everything's right, and you make sure it's right, you shouldn't have a problem. It comes down to all this lightweight stuff, all these lightweight parts people are putting into these drive lines where they shouldn't be lightweight. Like we run a Gen 1 transmission, we run all the old driveline stuff, we have a Bulldog rear that doesn't have any of the lightweight stuff in it because we don't want stuff to break, and will we probably get a lightweight rear with the easy tube stuff at some point? Yeah, probably a lightweight rear, but we'll never change drive lines and stuff because we don't have a problem with what we have in the car right now. It doesn't break. The main thing everybody worries about in racing is safety. That's what we all worry about. We probably spend a lot of the percentage wise, we probably spend the most money on safety stuff, but it all comes down to the people. You got to put your stuff together right so that your stuff isn't flying apart and might hit somebody. That parts spinning at that speed can kill you, definitely. So I completely understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it comes down to who's putting the car together.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. I'm gonna say so I got the opportunity. I ran a right side panhard, a left side panhard, and I even tried the J bar.
I didn't try J bar. I don't think I want to either.
Yeah, it wasn't. I won a race on J bar. It wasn't bad in the small block, and it wasn't bad. It just was
It's an odd feeling.
It's an odd feeling. I mean, but I'm not gonna say it's good. I'm not gonna say it's bad. I will say that if we stay with the left side panhard, I do think we probably eventually need to look into better driveline stuff. Maybe the late models I know we can't run as long of a drive shaft as them, but maybe that style-ish, maybe not. I don't know exactly what they even run, but something should help for the safety a little bit. I don't want to go backwards like you were saying in technology, because we are getting faster and we are hooking the cars up more.
Oh, hell yeah.
I will say, back on right side panhard racing, I actually like that because I had to pedal the car a lot more and you had to have a lot less grip.
Right side pan bar racing will bring the driver back out in racing around here in general.
Yeah.
But like if you want to go out and travel, for instance, you got to change your whole car basically. Setup, shocks, pan bar. Well, the pan bar will stay bolted onto the car. It's just a radius rod. But, like, that's a completely different setup. And if you don't have a rack in your car, you know, you might want to go back to bars if you're going on the right side. I mean, I know a lot of guys did run right side coils, but I ran right side bars when I started. I would probably want to go back to bars if I was running Grandview. So it's like, I don't know, the whole conversation gives me a headache anymore.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Everybody seems to have one opinion on it. Like all the racers, they don't want it to happen. They don't want to go right side. But for some reason, the tracks just don't want to see that. You know, it's just they put the blind eye to it.
Well, I've heard a lot of the tracks say it tears up the tracks and stuff like that, and I understand. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't want to go backwards, and I don't want to see our sport get hurt because of something. And this is my problem. If Dirt Car and Short Track Super Series agreed, I'd say let's do it. But the problem for me is Dirt Car and Short Track Super Series, I believe at least one of them made it clear they're not going back. And
I'm pretty sure too.
And if that's the case, we're now dividing what's going on.
You're dividing modified racing.
Yeah, and that's not what we should do. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm not saying that because the most fun I had was on right side pan art just because of now you need a better motor. You need everything perfect.
You need better shocks.
Yeah.
You
need a spring smasher. You need a shock dyno. Like before that, I'm not saying you didn't need a shock dyno because you did if you wanted to be. I'm talking about like Matt Shepard fast.
Yeah.
If you want to be that fast, you need that stuff. But for the average Saturday night racer, you didn't need that stuff, and it's just the money stuff it's gotten out of hand for it. But at the same time, I do not want to go backwards. So I'm contradicting myself of what I want, but I'm here for it, whatever we do.
Yeah, pretty much.
It is what it is, and we're gonna still show up on a Saturday.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll bolt it on, and I'll show up no matter what. I'll be there.
Yeah. Now, this is something I feel very strongly on, and I wanted to ask your opinion on it. So, the people in the stands have dwindled the last couple of years, and what can we do for the fans to bring them back, draw a crowd in, and put on a better show for them if that's what they're looking for?
Well, I think Grandview's doing the right thing. Like last year, they had was that the Back to the '90s night?
Yes.
Or was that the vintage night or whatever it was? They had everybody wearing vintage racing shirts. The stands were packed. It was a regular Saturday night, all because they had like a vintage night. You know, that was great, and they need to keep doing that. But I think in reality, what comes down to, you know, people not showing up in the stands is, you know, what it costs anymore. You know, it costs money to run a racetrack, for sure. You know, like I wouldn't want to know what that bill costs. But, you know, the cost to get in the stands anymore, like what is it at Grandview anymore? $18?
Something like that.
Like
I'm not sure.
You know, $18. You know, you got the wife, you got 2 kids, you know, whatever. You know,
just call it $20.
Yeah,
you have
food, you know, all that stuff. You know, it costs money. You know, you're talking about like $150 trip when you get all that food and stuff. So I can understand it when it comes to the normal person. You know, like Grandview's in Bechtelsville. You know, anybody around that area mostly doesn't have, you know, a hell of a lot of money. You know, so you want to try and bring those people in by having a lower price, like they did that night, and that's when the people showed up. You know, and it costs money. It costs a lot of money to run a racetrack.
And that's the whole thing. We don't know. I mean, Grandview, or we keep using Grandview as an example because that's where we race. But like any track,
anywhere,
we keep seeing a raising of price, but what we probably don't know is their yearly taxes are raised.
Oh yeah.
I know they have amusement taxes that they gotta pay, and just everything. they need to buy the food to sell to us. I'm
Right.
sure their food prices went up. They're also hurting just like us, drivers and fans. Like, it's crazy where it all has taken us these past couple of years, and I understand the $100 to have for a family night. I just think I hope there are some things we can do to draw them in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I personally, like, when I was younger, I loved the Thunder on the Hill shows where they used to play music during it, and they'd throw a little beach ball around, and then when the music stops, you grabbed it, and there was a envelope with a $10 gift certificate to some pizza place.
Go get some French fries.
Yeah.
That stuff goes a long way.
Yeah.
That'll make a little kid happy.
Exactly.
And you're gonna be going back every week because your kid's gonna be yelling at you to go to the racetrack. So, like, a lot of these incentives that these tracks used to do, they need to do them more.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of them incentives seem to have dwindled the past couple of years, and Grandview started to pick it up last year, and I think they saw an increase. Or at least a slight increase. You know, that vintage night they had was that was a success.
Yeah.
You know, they had a hell of a crowd that night for a regular Saturday.
Yeah, I saw this was awesome. I saw that Deo had a $5 to get in night.
Yeah.
I think it was
At
at Fonda.
Yep,
Yeah,
Fonda.
that was awesome. There's just stuff like that. I mean, that was one night. I mean, I'm sure that probably was rough on the business that night. But to give back to the fans, did you have a favorite, like, unsanctioned event at Grandview before? For me, I had two of them. I'll tell you right now. Two of them I love watching. And the Run What You Brung show.
Oh, well,
absolutely. That's everyone's favorite. But the other one was the Owners event.
Oh, yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, the Owners event was always cool. You get to see somebody else other than the racer get in a race car, the guy who owns the car, get into the car. You know, I still wouldn't be able to get my grandfather into the car to do it, but those are probably the favorites. I wish they would do that stuff still. You know, I would mount a garage door to the top of my modified. You know, I would do it, but they don't do them anymore. You know, so I would come up with some stuff. Like, it would.
So in the back, I don't know if you know this. In the back of Chico's land, he's still got a sprint car wing.
Oh, I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen it sitting back.
Let me tell you, I would mount that thing on my roof so fast.
Oh, so fast. I don't care if I have a crate or not. If it's gonna lug the motor, I don't care. I'm gonna go as fast as it'll go. I don't care.
I'm in.
I'm turning the chip up to 68, and the valves are gonna float.
Yeah, I think that we should try to do more fun stuff. I mean, just sitting here talking to you, like, it gets the child out and be talking about it, like, and that's the kind of stuff I think we need to bring back to the racing community and
the fun stuff.
Yeah, I don't even care. Like, I thought it was really cool. They had bike night, and I'm throwing it out there right now. I don't care if I got to go out and buy 4 bikes for kids, I will gladly do it. I don't care if it makes 4 kids smile and make them want to stay in this hobby for us.
Yeah,
I am in for that. I don't care, and I don't. It doesn't matter what it is. If we have a night where we go on the front stretch and we let the kids come out, because at the end of the day, it's the kids that's going to keep this sport alive, and we need to do what they want to keep them entertained, because at 10 years old, it's hard to keep a kid interested in race cars.
It's hard to keep a kid outside for that long.
Exactly. If
we
have to have
glued to the screen anymore.
Yeah. If we have to have a night where we stop on that front stretch and we have all them kids come out for a half hour, you know how many of them kids are gonna be like, I want to go back next week?
Oh yeah.
Every one of them.
Yep.
And my grandmother and Dave Dissinger, they run that Outlaw Enduro event. I was there for that show, the Halloween show.
Yep.
The amount of
bring
kids,
that up.
Yeah, the amount of kids that were out on that track, and my car was there, and I was out on that track, and all the kids that came by, we all had candy. Every single one of them.
Yep.
They were all smiling, and they all were happy.
Yep.
And that's what we need in this sport, is the kids to smile and be happy to keep it going.
The only way the sport's going to keep going. You know, they're the generation under us. You know, I'm 20, you're 23. You know, it all really comes down to the younger kids, the younger generations.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now, that leads me into my next question. So, if one of these younger kids now, say they're getting into the sportsman ranks, we'll start there. I mean, even in just racing in general, well, is there some advice you would give them?
Take it slow, I would say. You know, you always pace yourself. When I moved up into these cars, I paced myself for a little while, honestly, probably too long. It like when we ran slingshots, or you ran a quarter midget, then you moved up. And when you go from a slingshot to a sportsman, to a crate sportsman, there aren't a lot of similarities, but there are. The momentum game is very similar. When it comes to any small car, like a quarter midget, slingshot, you know, momentum is a big thing in racing. Really, no matter what it is. You know, since these are smaller horsepower, smaller compression engines, it's better to have them wound up. But, you know, momentum is, and has always been, a big part in racing. If you can keep your car as straight as possible, it'll go as fast as it needs to go. You know, the term loose is fast is a thing. You know, like, you can be loose and be fast, but you have to be good with your foot.
Yeah.
You know, loose is fast isn't just a term, that's a driving technique.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you, especially with the start out slow. This year, my nephew's going to start running the quarter midget, and he's 7 years old. That's where I started at 5, and
Yeah.
I started there. I don't even remember how many years, until I was 12, around there. Then I moved up to the slingshots, and eventually the sportsman. And I just think, like, when you're younger, you obtain so much information, and you learn so much. If you start when you're young, learn as much as you can, run as many races as your budget allows you, just so you learn, and laps and seat time. That just matters so much.
Yeah.
And I'm this day and age, with the cars being so equal, you just need to learn what edges can you get. And it's hard when you're a kid. You want to just play and everything. One thing I really wish that I would have sat down and learned more about the quarter midgets. I mean, because now working on my nephew's car, I'm learning how to work on them. Mm-hmm. I wish I would have learned that when I was younger, because that would have gave me so much more knowledge into the slingshot division, into the modified division. I solely relied on my dad building the car and stuff like that, and he's the one who taught me everything. That's the one piece of advice I'd give. If you're a younger kid, try and learn as much as you can. I know it takes away from your fun, because I hung out with my friends.
Use your hands.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people respect that as well. If you are in the shop working, you earn some respect from people, and that's a huge thing. Maybe we're not doing it right, but
as long as you're trying.
Yeah, and I think, not like when I was a kid, I hated working on the race cars. Yeah. Now, and I don't. If it wasn't for this, now I love working on the race cars. If it wasn't that I loved working on the cars, I don't think I'd be doing it anymore.
Probably not.
No. I spend too much time in that shop to not like it, to go and race.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I consider working on the race car like a getaway.
Yeah.
You know, you just shut your head off and put stuff together.
I know you understand, like, you work on cars all day, and then you come and you get away. Your getaway is working on it.
My getaway is working on another car, yeah. I would much rather work on a Bicknell than a Toyota Camry, I can tell you that right now. 100%.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't honestly, like, when it comes to regular cars and stuff, like, I learned a lot of what I know working on regular cars. You know, I went to tech for automotive. I mean, like, I worked up front since I was a kid, you know, like, on and off, don't get me wrong, but when you learn how to use your hands early on, you'll be really good at it for the rest of your life. And if you keep doing it, you know, mechanic work is it's a different type of work. You know, it's the same as what you're doing anywhere in here, same as working on any other car or, you know, diesel truck. So
yeah, you definitely got to be in it.
yeah.
All right, so I got to ask before we end this, are you watching the Tulsa shootout?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Who are you cheering for?
Obviously the PA guys. I mean, you can't not cheer for the PA guys. Tommy Koonsman's always fast up there. He's been on a rail.
Oh my God,
year.
yeah.
You know, all of them. You know, Kyle Spence has been really fast. James Roselli's been really fast, and he's a young kid.
Yeah.
You know, he's been really fast. Zach Weisenflue, he's been really good too. Those are always the PA guys. You know, whenever you have them guys go down there and, you know, they
Buckholder's a strong one.
Oh yeah.
You know he'll be up front.
He's always up front. But, you know, when you have all these guys go down and run these classes, you know, there were close to 1,800 cars entered in Tulsa. You know, it's amazing to see people from up here go down there and run probably the biggest micro race of the year.
Yeah.
You know, micro or midget race of the year.
I don't know any event that draws 1,800 cars anywhere.
No, nowhere. I don't know if there's an event in the world.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to it about it to somebody at work, and I'm like, I cannot think of one other event even close.
Unless it's like a car show, or something. Like there's no way. And these are cars that are all racing.
Yeah.
You know, like and they're all inside of a building.
And there's no age limit.
No,
I understand. Like, did you see that? I saw a interview today. Did you see that 6-year-old girl?
Yeah.
She was so well spoken, and she.
Oh, them kids get taught.
I was so impressed. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
She's 6 years old and she's talking like she's been doing this for 20 years.
And then they go to the next kid and he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Literally. There's been a lot of sound bites from Tulsa this year from kids saying some weird stuff.
It's funny. I've been watching it.
Yeah.
But, all right, that's all I have for you, Joey. I want to thank you for coming to the show, and I want to thank Lydia with Airbon for sponsoring the show. Please leave some comments, and if there's anything I can improve for this, or if there's anybody you want to see on the podcast next, please let me know in the comments, and thank you, and have a happy New Year's.